Good evening, my powerful viewers, subscribers, members, all of you who have supported this channel. This month is considered Black History Month, and as I've always said, Black history is not a one-month thing, but Black history should be celebrated throughout the year. Tonight, I want to give my tribute to Black History Month. I'm going to read a few poems, and then I will just say a little bit about our history. The first poem was written by Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, and she entitled it The Slave Auction. The sale began. Young girls were there, defenseless in their wretchedness, whose stifled sods of deep despair revealed their anguish and distress. And mothers stood with streaming eyes and saw their dearest children sold. Unheeded rose their bitter cries, while tyrants battered them for gold. And woman, with her love and truth, for these in sable forms may dwell, gazed on the husband of her youth. With anguish none may paint or tell. And men, whose sole crime was their hue, the impress of their maker's hand, and frail and shrinking children too, were gathered in that mournful band. Ye who have laid your loved to rest, and wept above their lifeless clay, know not the anguish of that breast, whose loved are rudely torn away. Ye may not know how desolate our bosoms rudely forced to part, and how a dull and heavy weight ye may not know will press the life drops from the heart. Ye may not know how desolate our bosoms rudely force apart, and how a dull and heavy weight will press the life drops from the heart. In this poem, Harper describes a scene that was quite gut-wrenching. But this is our history. Difficult to picture, but we must make sure they're never forgotten. My parents, please teach your children about their history. Please never let it be forgotten. The second poem is written by Maya Angelou, or was written by Maya Angelou. The Caged Bird Sings. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips its wings in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful thrill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But the cage bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped, and his feet are tied, and he opens his throat to sing. The cage bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the cage bird sings of freedom. And then Langston Hughes, one of my favorite poets, along with Maya Angelou. Langston Hughes wrote this short piece, and it says, I too. And he says, I too sing America. I am the darker brother they send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and I eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am. And he ashamed, I too am America. It doesn't matter what your situation or where they send you, whether at the front or at the back. Just know that if you stand firm and you work hard, that you too will eat at the kitchen table one day. You too will eat at the table. You won't have to be ashamed, because you know what, you've worked hard. You've come a long way. You have built and you have gained that seat at the table. So they might push you in the kitchen now. They put you in the back now. But it's not about where they push you. It's about where you made the strides and put yourself. So as I said, that's my contribution to Black History Month. I want to remind all of us that if we forget our history, then we're bound to repeat those same things that put us where we were years ago. We have to remember our history. We have to remember our history. And we have to remember the people whose shoulders we're standing on today. And we need to teach our children, and we need to help to pull our children up. Too much in this time, as I said, our children are just walking commercials for rich companies. They have nothing of, they're not building with integrity and pride. They continue to sit in that kitchen, and that's where they just plow themselves, and that's where their intentions are. They're not working hard to have bank accounts, to have wealth, so they can sit inside at the table and eat too. And my heart aches because I see the devastation. I see the lack of worth. I see the lack of interest in learning and wanting and owning and just building. I see the lack of supporting each other. The Chinese build together, right? The Jews, they build together. They pull each other up. But yet we, Black history, 1 month out of the year, and even the 1 month given a lot of us wouldn't even tell our children it's Black History Month. We wouldn't read a book with them. We don't do anything but running out there to buy the next new pair of sneakers for $100 and something, $250, and that's all the worth they have to brag about the name brand on their feet. But ask them one person who contributed to Black history, and they have nothing to say. They don't know, or they might tell you, oh, Martin Luther King. Ask them what civil rights were, and they know. And so they don't know. And they can't know if we're not teaching them. And teachers, even though you're not social studies teachers, even though we have social studies teachers, we're not even teaching these Black kids about their history. But it's you know, as when I was in the classroom, I'm teaching math, I dropped my book. Because when I see the negligence of our children, when I see the lack of enthusiasm to learn, the lack of wanting more, the lack of just integrity and pride, I have to drop my books and I have to talk to them about how much greatness they have in them. How their foreparents, who were kings and princesses and queens and princes, how they work hard way down there on the River Nile. How they've started farming, which is adopted around the world today. How they created boats to move their goods from one place to the other down the River Nile. Those were their ideas. These weren't in this kind of world today that, oh, you think that it was created by some wealthy white men somewhere. No. It started right down there in Egypt. Teach your children these things. The wheels that then became what they put on cars and to move transportation around the place. It started in Egypt, guys. Our foreparents rode in chariots. The chariots had wheels on them. They might not have been Goodyear and all of that, but that's where the ideas came from. The math you learn, it came from down there in Egypt, from your foreparents. It wasn't created in America or in England. It came out of Egypt. The soap, the first paper was made right there in Egypt, guys. The papyrus plant. That's what they pressed and created paper. They call it the parchment paper. But that's where it started. Writing started there. The calendar started there. Today we talk about emojis and we talk about emojis. Those things started in Egypt, guys, because hieroglyphics started in Egypt, where they use pictures to represent words. So I just say to us, guys, our children deserve to know their history. They deserve to know their history. They need to understand that you children from Jamaica and parents of Jamaican kids, Black history is theirs too. I remembered I went in 2008, I think I moved to, my daughter bought a house in Georgia, and my husband didn't like the cold really, and we moved out there. But, you know, we're thinking he could have gotten a job. There's no job. There were no jobs there. He's a welder. There's no jobs there. But I got hired in a school there. And for the few months I went there in September and October, I got a job. And let me tell you this. They had a competition for decorating doors. And the decorating doors of Black history. And after they did, I did Bob Marley, because Bob Marley's music brought a lot of people together. Reggae music brought a lot of people together, a lot of different cultures. So I decided to do Bob Marley, and I had a CD player out the door, and I had Bob Marley's CDs loaded in, and so as you walk by, you'd hear his music playing softly. And they went around and they collected their data, and one lady who was on the panel, she says, your door was the best, you had the best presentation. But they said Black History, and you did Bob Marley. Just imagine how quiet I got as I looked at them and I said, Black history is not only America's history. So I'm just saying those things just to let you know that there's so much misconceptions out there. Black history is all of our history. As I said, Peter Church says, no matter where you come from, as long as you're a black man, you're an African. So black history is yours. Doesn't care if your complexion or when you say complexion, your complexion high or low or in between, you're an African. Don't mind the nationality. As long as you have the identity of an African, you're just an African. So black history is yours. Black history is not America's history. Black history is all of us Africans' history. But a lot of us do not know that. We do not know the contribution of Nanny in Jamaica. We do not know the contributions of Marcus Garvey. That Marcus Garvey was before Martin Luther King and had started the talk before Martin Luther King, that Martin Luther King met with Garvey and took Garvey's ideas and used them to help with the civil rights movement. But that started long ago with Garvey. Let's not fight with sticks, but let us fight with words. Let us build. So as Black History comes, and it will go, because after February ends, we all forget. But if I were you guys, I would keep on remembering. I would keep on talking to my children, your grandchildren. Talk to them, because history can repeat itself. So please watch the videos, guys. I've done a few videos since February, did poems to support the Black History movement. But please encourage your children. Build them and fill them up with integrity and pride. Fill them up with kindness and self-worth. Fill them up with those things. Teach them hard work. Teach them to work hard for what they want so that they can become great contributors to society. They can build their wealth and they can give back.